Mr. Secretary, Ambassador Kirk, good to see both of you. Ambassador Kirk, for many years, China has prohibited Washington agricultural products, particularly apples and potatoes, because they say that they're prohibited for something other than, basically based on sound science. So what is USTR doing to open up the agriculture markets for Washington and apples and potatoes into China?
Well, again, Senator, this is one of those just mixed challenges where we have wins, but still have major hurdles with China because of their application of non-scientific standards to bar certain products. The good news is we have a trade balance. One of the few areas we have a surplus with China is in our agricultural exports. So in the broad picture, we're winning. In the specific areas, whether it's for our beef, for your apples, or those from Senator Schumer's districts, we continue to be frustrated. But we continue to work with Secretary Vilsack and our team from the Department of Agriculture to get China to just follow international OIE standards. And if they will apply internationally recognized sanitary and phytosanitary standards, then we believe America's farmers, exporters will be just fine. But getting them to their point, I will be honest with you, has been difficult. There is a component of our JCCT discussions every year that we deal specifically with these agricultural standards and issues, and we will continue to press those when we meet again this fall. But in certain specific cases like yours where we have those, we've pressed those individually as well.
Thank you. If I could, Secretary Locke, I want to ask you about a separate issue, which is why an Inspector General recommendation said that NOAA should withhold its finalization of practical alternatives on their Marine Operations Center, but NOAA went ahead with that process. Do you think that your agency's acquisition process is above reproach?
No, our acquisition processes within NOAA and throughout the other agencies of Department of Commerce need a thorough review, and that's why we've asked for a separate outside review of acquisition experts from other federal agencies and the private sector to come in. We're very concerned about the fact that we have a defect and consistency in the evaluation of, for instance, the new home porting of NOAA ships in the Pacific Northwest. Although the Inspector General indicated that the defects were not sufficient to overturn that, and still that the award should have gone to the ultimate site, which was Newport. But nonetheless, the underlying findings are very troubling and do not give me confidence, or I think the confidence that the American public expect on any type of acquisition procurement process. We've seen that with the Census Bureau years ago with respect to billions of dollars spent on handheld computers that did not work, where we paid the money and got nothing for it. We've seen it with the NOAA satellite procurement that was in collaboration with the Defense Department and NASA.
With all due respect, Mr. Secretary, I have no information from the Inspector General that says that you should go ahead and that it's the lowest cost site. And that, so we've asked the Inspector General if that is the case, and they said no. So where are you getting that information? I
read a report from the Inspector General just last week, prior to my phone call to you, indicating the problems that the Inspector General's office uncovered, but his conclusion that these defects would not have changed, that the fact that the ultimate awardee was still the lowest cost and nothing to reverse that contract.
Well,
but I'm happy to discuss that with you.
I would love to see that document that says so. I think when my staff called after our phone call, I think the response was the Inspector General's office laughed that was the answer that NOAA was given. And this document that I'm reading from May 26th, it basically says that NOAA should examine whether it sufficiently complied with the requirement to consider existing federal facilities before pursuing a new lease acquisition. So we're talking millions of dollars here to the U.S. taxpayer by the fact that this facility did not go through a process in which existing federal facilities were considered. The Inspector General said, go back and do that homework, and you guys said, let's just go ahead. So I don't think the Inspector General is giving you a blanket go-ahead authority. If you have such a document, I'd love to see it.
Let me just indicate that I also agree with you that it would have been preferable for us to consider outside existing federal facilities instead of trying to lease from either a separate governmental agency, whether state, local, or private sector. I think in looking at all of this, it would have been preferable. And I think that's why we need to have a thorough review of the acquisition processes within the Department of Commerce and especially NOAA in terms of, are we asking for Cadillac versions of things when in fact we should be looking at more readily available, suitable facilities or products and services before we procure?
Well, I don't think the Inspector General has said for you to go ahead. I have a letter here from them saying that you shouldn't go ahead. So when the Inspector General says an agency shouldn't be taking action and are costing taxpayers money because they haven't done a thorough review, the next step is usually Congress gets involved in saying you shouldn't allocate monies to such projects. So we'll look forward to discussing this with you further.
I understand.